who's holding our debt? Historically, our debt has been held by U.S. citizens. In 1990, we had approximately 19% of our total public debt held by U.S. citizens. Look what's happened since that time, and look at 2009, 2010. How much of our debt now is being held by foreign countries? It's half, if not more than half. And which single country holds the most of our debt? China. And that's why our chairman of our Joint Chief of Staff, Admiral Mullen, had this statement that he made. He said, the national debt is the greatest threat to our national security. Why did he say that? You all know that if you're in business, the person that holds your debt calls the shots. 1956, when England and France went in to take care of the Suez Canal and protect their interest in the Middle East, the Soviet Union was getting ready to come in on behalf of Egypt. And Eisenhower was in the White House, and he called the Prime Minister of England, and he said, look, you got to pull your troops out. And the guy said, no, that's our national interest. And Ike then said, might I remind you who holds your debt? Which was the United States. And guess what they did? They pulled their troops out. So you have a country like China now holding almost $1 trillion of our debt and putting themselves in a situation where they're obviously going to influence policy and other factors. We're in a scary situation. Look at the interest payments on this debt as it's projected. In 2010, we're going to be about $200 billion in interest. Look what happens now if the debt continues the way it's being projected. What's the level we get to at 2020? $900 billion. The total defense budget is about $600 billion. A professor at Harvard basically plotted the fall of countries and empires. And he could conclude that no matter what empire or country was in place, as soon as the interest payments exceeded defense spending, the country went into decline. Is everybody catching that? Now here's the scary part. You see this 2020? If our interest rates go up, and what's the chances of that happening? If that goes up, guess what happens? This moves this way. So you could have unbelievably high interest rates very, very soon. And more of our total spending goes for the interest payments. That's why when you hear people saying, well, let's wait and put this off till the economy recovers, what happens is we'll get to a point where the interest payments are so great, we can never get to balance. We can never get there. So we're at a very critical time. Let's look at what happens as U.S. debt increases. Let's look at short term, the next 1 to 3 years. The Congressional Budget Office has made this statement. The growing level of federal debt could increase the possibility of a sudden fiscal crisis. What they're saying is, in the past, we've always had a warning when things are going to get bad. And then we tell the people and Congress acts. They're saying, right now, we could have a fiscal crisis with no additional warning. And look what that would look like. Basically, your debt would increase as a percent of GDP, which is our total economic activity. We could get a falling value of the dollar, a significant slowing of our economic growth, and look at this, a possible downgrading of our debt level from AAA to AA. And for every additional interest, percentage interest that's added to what our government has to pay those that hold our debt, it would add $100 billion to our budget for that year. And that could happen right now. No additional warning. Let's look at midterm, the next 4 to 10 years. This is a statement of Senator Judd Gregg, who's the former ranking member of the Senate Budget Committee. If we continue to spend more than we take in 7 years, we will be where Greece is now. Where's Greece? They've got difficulty refinancing their debt. They've got a tremendous increase in their interest rates. They've got diminished economic growth. Long term, if we don't take any action and things continue, and have you heard that term, kick the can down the road? All right, if Congress continues to kick the can down the road, 15 to 20 years, projected debt would be 200% of our total economic activity. We would have to default on the debt. We couldn't pay the interest. And we would start to look a lot like Germany in the 1930s, where it took a wheelbarrow worth of dollars or money to buy a loaf of bread. It would be a devalued currency.